A special shout out to the big patrons of the month, including the Nerd Therapist and Dan the MiniGolf Wizard. Thanks, heroes.
Hey, Pokemon Masters, Bookkeeper Toby here, and you know what the pinnacle of creativity is on the internet? You see someone else do a cool video, and you steal the idea. YouTube creativity at its finest. I was watching a video by a YouTuber called JXD, whose videos I've really been enjoying lately, especially the how not to review on Spider-Man videos. And basically, he just seems to be one of those guys who's going, look, there's negativity out there about things that I love, and I just want to, challenge that a little bit. Anyway, their videos are great. Link to them down in the description. And they did this video talking about the state of the Star Wars fanbase at the moment, which, given the Last Jedi and Han Solo were relatively controversial films within the franchise, people are kind of mixed opinions right now, and I thought, hey, Pokemon feels like it's maybe in a similar place right now. I'm not sure really how everyone felt about Sun and Moon and Let's Go, and I know there's some opinions out there on the internet right now about Sword and Shield. Say opinions like they're not opinions. They are opinions. People, they're valid opinions. Just some people are very vocally aggressive about certain things. And I enjoyed, Sun and Moon. I have my problems, sure, and I'm looking forward to Sword and Shield. And I think there's this feeling, there is this mood that happens. It happened with Game of Thrones as well, where the ending was kind of controversial and people were like, do we like it? Do we not like it? I liked it, but I was made to feel like the fact that I liked it was somehow invalid and that I basically as a fan was just wrong. So my opinion was wrong and I was stupid and an idiot for liking those things. It genuinely brought me down and ruined my experience a little bit, that every thumbnail I was seeing and every video that I was seeing on the internet was, hey, this is why your feelings about how you enjoyed that thing, here is why you are empirically wrong as a fact, and here's where the thing is terrible. I'm getting that vibe a little bit about Pokemon right now. So to get to the point, I've kind of copied what JXE has done, where he put out a survey just asking people, look, how do you really feel? How do you feel about the franchise? And so I've done the exact same thing, but with Pokemon, talking about Pokemon as a whole, and Pokemon Sword and Shield, and the National Dex, and all that stuff specifically. And the results are fascinating and so not what you would expect. At the time of recording this, I've had just over 3,000 responses. Of course, you can give it a go, link in the description. I've had just over 3,000 responses. And I'm not saying that my audience, that you are representative of the whole Pokemon community. Saying the Pokemon community is a bit weird because it's like saying the community that is a small country. There's a lot of people and a lot of different pockets, and my pocket specifically might be a little bit more biased towards positivity just because I, in general, as a content creator, tend to be a lot more positive about Pokemon because I'm a fan and I do like it. I'm still vocal when I don't like things, but generally speaking, I think I tend to lean a lot more positive than some of the other creators out there. And so, as a result, the people following me on Twitter, which, by the way, thank you for 40,000 followers on Twitter, that's nuts. The people following me there are probably maybe going to be a little bit more inclined to my way of thinking, so, obviously, you've got to account for some level of bias in there, but 3,000 people, anyone was welcome to do it. You were all welcome to retweet it and repost it, and I got what I would consider to be a decent sample of what I would say, part of the Pokemon fan base. And here is what you had to say. First of all, just a little simple question: what is your favorite main series Pokemon game at the moment? I was shocked to see that you're all Gen 4 fans. And this is main series, not remakes. Remakes come later, and what's that? Over a quarter of people are just yeah, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, which I assume means Platinum is everyone's favorite game, or a quarter of people's favorite game. Platinum is obviously much better than Diamond and Pearl, but that's just my personal opinion. Just over 20% of you are really into Black and White and Black and White 2. And then following that, you've got around about 16% for Generation 3 games, Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. And the smallest one there, surprisingly, with just 2.5%, is Red, Blue, and Yellow. It's no one's favorite game. In fact, the next question is, what are people's least favorite games? And a quarter of people said Red, Blue, and Yellow. What happened to Gen 1ers? What happened to nostalgia blindness? Does that just is that not a real thing? Of course, you then had another 20-ish% of people saying that Sun and Moon and Usum were their least favorite games. So again, that's a very interesting and telling thing. Because while for a quarter of people it was their least favorite game, for about 10% of people it was their favorite game. And by the way, you might be thinking, well, hang on, maybe your audience is slightly younger Toby, and maybe that's why they don't love the Gen 1 game so much. I forgot to add this very relevant question, so I did a second poll with just one question. It only got 200 responses, so I don't know quite how this fares, but by a dramatic margin, 29% of people said Red, Blue, and Yellow was their first Pokemon game. So people where Red, Blue, and Yellow is their main experience, 30% of the audience are saying that. And yet, quite vocally, Red, Blue, and Yellow are not people's favorites. As for the remake games, obviously by a massive margin, 55% people loved Heart Gold and Soul Silver, so Generation 4 as a whole is looking very, very good, and I agree with that. I loved Heart Gold, Soul Silver, I loved Platinum. And people's least favorite remake games, by the same margin by which people love Heart Gold, Soul Silver, people dislike and say their least favorite is Let's Go. Granted, we only have 4 options for the remakes. Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Leaf Green, Fire Red, Let's Go, and Oras. And, I think there's a lot of good games in there, so maybe... I personally enjoyed Let's Go, but when its competition is, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Oras, and Leaf Green and Fire Red, which I love, I just think, obviously it's going to be people's least favorite remake games. That said, there may also be the argument for Kanto Burnout, because the next least favorite remake game is Leaf Green Fire Red. So people who are like, oh, maybe my audience, if there was ever any fear that my audience was Gen 1ers and just like nostalgia obsessed people, so many of you played Red, Blue, and Yellow as your first games, and yet Kanto is your least favorite generation, and that is so fascinating. Right, on to the state of like how things are currently. I asked people 2 questions. Number 1, how good do you think Sword and Shield will be, and how much do you think you will enjoy Sword and Shield, which is a more personal kind of question. And this is where I was expecting that massive amount of negativity, but most answers, the highest percentages, are all out of 10, with 10 being the best and 1 being absolutely terrible, were 6, 7, 8, which is the biggest, 9, and 10. People who answered 1 to 4 on that scale add up to about 10% of the people who participated in the survey. So about a tenth of people go, you know what, we're not looking forward to this at all. Another kind of 7% are like, oh, it's going to be mediocre. And then everyone else kind of feels really positive about it. And this is surprising to me, because Twitter seems to have been this noisy place where people have been really, really negative. But I think this goes to show, for me, based on the 3,000 people who answered, that people are feeling actually a lot more positive. And when it comes down to how much do they personally think they'll enjoy the game, it scales even more positive. People think that they will enjoy the game more than they think the game will be good, but it was already positive to begin with, so everything is just shifted up, which is nuts. Like 7% of people are 4 or less, another 6% of people are kind of in the middle, and then everyone else, I mean, you've got like a quarter of people are like 10 out of 10, I'm gonna enjoy it, I'm gonna love it. I say a quarter, 23 point something percent, and then like 20% of people are like 9 out of 10, another 20% are like 8 out of 10, so like that's all really positive feelings. People think they're gonna enjoy this game. It is okay for you to enjoy this game and like it. It's okay for you to be positive about this. Other people feel it too. So then I asked the next question. What do you feel about the state of Pokemon as a whole currently? I'm just going to read some of these out. We got good, fine, meh, great, pretty good, okay, disappointed, it's fine, disappointed, toxic, could be better, disappointing. So a lot of disappointed in there. So that's interesting. Lazy, hopeful, rushed, declining, bad, positive, not great, good, frustrated, sad, stagnant, it's good. We got optimistic, I'm okay with it, I don't know, decent, unstable, it's fine. So people are very mixed. How do they feel about the state of Pokemon currently? People seem to be. I didn't count those up, and I mean, there's like 2,000 responses there. There's like 3,000 responses there, blimey. I didn't count those up. I'm not going to count them up and be like, how many of those are positive sentiments? How many of them are negative? The state of Pokemon as a whole, people are kind of mixed, and yet they are looking forward. They're optimistic. They're looking forward to these new games. They think they're going to be decent, and they definitely think they're going to enjoy them. Okay, so I asked people, what is the worst creative decision you think Creatures Inc., Pokemon Company, Game Freak has ever made? And resoundingly, Z-Moves is like a thing. Friendly Rivals, Festival Plaza, not the PSS system. There's a couple of no national decks, but actually Z-Moves is a very much like a thing that people didn't like, apparently. The flip side of that, the best creative decision you think Game Freak has ever made, people say Mega Evolution. People loved Mega Evolution, which again, that's really interesting to me. I also really enjoyed Mega Evolution and think it's way better than Z-Moves, because I like new Pokemon forms. That's why I'm feeling pretty positive about Gigantamaxing. It's, kind of like another Mega Evolution. I think maybe, I don't know if I have a preference between the two yet. Obviously, I'm familiar with Mega Evos, but I'm interested at least to see where Gigantamaxing is going to go. Are there any Pokemon games, if any, you would say you hate? While it definitely scales towards newer games, 2/3 of people go, nah, there's no games I would say I hate. 2,000 responses, just 71%, no, There's nothing that they're going to say, yes, I definitively hate that game. About 10% of people go, yeah, Let's Go, which is fair enough. Let's Go is a very different game. It's not necessarily a main series so much as it is kind of a remake, kind of a side game. So I don't know how reflective that'll be of the quality that Sword and Shield are going to be, but yeah, certainly that's the game that is the one that people are most about. A good kind of 6% of people said that Sun and Moon and Usum, they absolutely hated those. But those are kind of the biggest ones, 6% of people. I mean, come on, that's a genuinely, I think that's quite a positive attitude that people have. This is more than I was expecting. When people are given the option to anonymously put their opinions about stuff, usually people are like, here's everything I dislike. And, there were a lot of that in the responses. But it is a very vocal minority. While there are definitely some criticisms, though, we are going to get into that. Do you think it is rational to hate the game developers if you dislike a Pokemon game, announcement, or trailer? 75% of people said no. It disappoints me that as little as 75% of people said no. Why would you hate a game developer based on, really, you hate the game developers based on a trailer, a title? That's a really strong word. But, there are some opinions. Someone put here, fair enough, they don't have a past for bringing out rubbish. They deserve and should accept criticism, but hating on a company won't do anyone any good. Oh, okay, well, fair enough then. They don't have a past, they should take criticism, and absolutely, and that is what my next question is about. How do people feel they should communicate feedback? I think most people kind of said yes, tweeting directly at them, replying to their official social medias. Other people just said posting on social media in general. I put as an option, contacting those with larger audiences and, like myself, and getting them to somehow, broadcast your opinions. That shocks me that as many as 30% of people think that's like a good way or the way that they should communicate feedback. Because personally, I'm just a Pokemon fan. Granted, in this specific instance, I have actively invited you to give me your feedback and opinions. And maybe someone at Pokemon will see this and hear this and that I could send them this data. But I don't think that's like a given or personally, and the whole reason I'm really doing this is because I know of other YouTubers, and I know, for example, my friend Joe who runs Cerebi, he gets emails being like, you're part of the problem. People messaging me saying like, oh, you're being so positive. You're not fighting towards the goal that we should all be fighting towards. And it's like, hold up. We all want a good game, right? And what you're doing is just like, you're making me not excited for anything. Not just Pokemon, you're just not making me excited about the community in general. You're the thing that's making me feel like, oh, the community's kind of meh right now. I think if you're invited to give your opinion, then you absolutely, great, cool, you've been given that forum. But contacting a YouTuber, most of us, I'm not like a professional contact between you and Pokemon, unless like I'm given that opportunity officially. I'm just a Pokemon fan, and I don't like my inboxes being bombarded with people who have very, very strong opinions as to why I am part of the problem. But hey, if you're like a YouTuber, or even if you're not, like, I'd be fascinated to hear your opinions in the comments. Oh, and sorry, I can't believe I missed this, but this is another question that is obviously very important. How do you feel about not every Pokemon being programmed into Pokemon Sword and Shield? We've got 3,200 responses, 28% of people, so like a third of people, well, not quite a third, under a third of people were like, 1, it doesn't bother me really that much at all, whatever. Another 10% of people were 2, another 15% of people were 3, and then 9 and 10 were like, we won't buy the games now, it's unacceptable that these Pokemon aren't in, and collectively 9 and 10 added up to about 8-9%. So yeah, obviously not a lot of people have currently been swayed as a result of the national decks that they're absolutely not going to buy the games. Some people feel a little less radically, with 7 and 8 on this graph having about 7 and 8% respectively. Maybe they're still going to buy the game, but ultimately they're not happy about it. But most people still, land in that number 1. It's fine. Or 2, like, okay, well, I'm a little bit bothered, but whatever. Interesting one. And sorry for audio only, I completely forgot to record this. Okay, we're going to move on because I feel like I'm taking up a lot of time. Okay, so I said, how do you feel about the visual animation quality of Pokemon Sword and Shield? And I kind of had this one in reverse order, where 1 is the best and 10 is not good. 1 is like, hey, it's great, and 10 is like, it's not acceptable for a 2019 game. And this was more mixed. It did tend to lean positive. However, again, you got to remember probably the biases of our audience, of my audience. So I would go ahead and assume that those negative numbers are a little bit higher, and it's actually just flat out mixed across the board, with people thinking, I imagine, pretty evenly between 1 and 10. The moment it leans more positive, people are like, hey, pretty happy with it. I personally am like, yeah, it looks good. It's no Breath of the Wild, but they spent 7 years on that game. Of course it's not Breath of the Wild. It looks beautiful though, and I think it's the best looking Pokemon game we've ever got. But that's just my opinion, and, you know, it seems to be very mixed. And I'm interested to see how Game Freak will do, because, you know, it's not like they're not aware of the feedback. It's been pretty loud. Be interested to see what they do with that going forward into future games. There's a couple questions here that I'm not really including for time. We've got how do you feel about the way Game Freak works based on the public interviews you've heard or read? I think you got a lot of people saying that they don't know enough to make an informed opinion, and a few more people saying, you know what, based on what I've observed and read, there could be more changes made to make better games. How frequently do you think a new main series Pokemon game should be? Most people think every 2 years. That's just interesting to me. Every 2 to 4 years seems to be like the biggest thing there. This is interesting. If you're excited for Pokemon Sword and Shield, what do you think the main reason is that people might not be? And people said the national Dex. Dexit, the whole not having all Pokemon programmed in. That was the number one reason people gave. However, I asked people, if you're not excited for Sword and Shield, what is the main reason you are not? And well, yeah, there was a couple national Dexes in there. People were saying that the graphics was a big deal. Gigantamaxing looks too gimmicky, apparently. Someone just put, I don't have a Nintendo Switch. I guess that's a fair reason to not be excited for the game. I think on the whole, people feeling like the National Dex was the reason that people are upset does line up with what people have said as the reason they're upset or they're not excited. But there are definitely a few other little reasons in there, like the animation, which are, I think, you know, people feeling like, you know, things are too gimmicky. Those seem to be pretty active responses that people have put. So there's some other things there that maybe if you're excited for the game, you want to be aware of as to why other people might not be. I also put, if you are not excited for Pokemon Sword and Shield, do you think it's reasonable that others are still excited? And the overwhelming majority of people said yes, of course it's reasonable that other people are excited. So please, if you are out there and you're excited for Pokemon Sword and Shield, don't let the negativity get you down. Most people feel the same way as you, and even the people that don't go, yeah, but it's fine, you should feel how you want to feel and be excited. Really reassuring. It's just really reassuring to me. And one final question, I just put, are you excited for any upcoming Pokemon titles? And they put, obviously, lots of people, about 80% of people said, yeah, Sword and Shield. Lots of people said Pokemon Masters, which I'm quite excited for. Pokemon Home. Pokemon Sleep was much lower down. About 8% of people went, nope, not excited for anything, nope. Which is, yeah, fair enough. That kind of lines up with what we said earlier. And about 3% of people said Diamond and Pearl remakes, which, given people's love for Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, I can totally understand it. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this very, very, very different video. Again, shout out to JXE, who I will link in the description, as well as this form if you want to give it a go, maybe with more information, maybe the stats will change, and that could be interesting. On the whole, though, if you are excited for Pokemon Sword and Shield, don't worry, don't feel like you don't fit in, or don't feel like you're wrong and that you're just a fanboy or something, because you're not. The majority of people actually feel like you do, and there is a very vocal minority out there, and that's just it. It's the vocal few, and you just gotta go out there and be positive and say, hey, well, you know what? I'm excited, you know, if you are, obviously. Critiquing is one thing, and if you're disappointed, I'm really genuinely sorry to hear that. Maybe my videos hopefully will change your mind. I may well be preaching to the converted, given that you are the people who likely filled in this form. But I guess I just wanted to reassure you that, you know, it's okay. People are excited for these games. With that in mind, this video's gotten way too long, so thank you for watching, and of course, soar high Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master!